everyone, it's Reena. I'm back in the same hotel as the very first video I shot of this series. I can't believe it's just been such a crazy trip since then. But yeah, this is my last night in Northampton. And after this, we're heading to Albany, so that will be the last city of my trip. So it's kind of winding down. But I've had so much happen in the last 24 and then some hours because I recorded the last video in the middle of the day. So highs, there are actually quite a few highs, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention all of them. Tonight the orchestra did a concert of my piece Aria, and Aria is a piece of mine that, it's funny, I've been a little bit reluctant to put it out there, even though, it is my one work that's published by Peters. I guess I've always felt like, oh, I wrote it. It was the first time I ever worked with an Indian singer. Like, I don't want this thing out there. Like, people can perform it. And I've been very lukewarm about it. But Jonathan Hirsch, who's the conductor of Smith College Orchestra, he, really got behind it. And in a way, I feel really showed me what to love about it. And I kind of fell back in love with the piece in a really different way than when I had written it. Because I think a lot of times we remember pieces by the way that we felt when we wrote them. And to be honest, when I wrote Aria, I was beyond terrified because it was the first time I had ever worked with an Indian musician. It was the second orchestra piece I had ever written. I wrote a violin concerto before that, but I felt like it was one of the first really substantial big pieces that I had written, and I just felt like it was so over my head and I didn't know if I could handle it, and at the end I just felt like I was just throwing stuff on the page and I wasn't sure what was what. And in the end, when I looked at it, I was like, no, I made some really good decisions, and maybe I'm just selling myself short. So I really felt that about the piece. And then also I felt Saili was singing in the piece tonight, and she just nailed it. And it's always scary because, she's not a Western musician. She was not trained to just read music and memorize things and come in at exactly the right time. Her training is really different. And I just felt tonight like something really clicked for her, and she totally owned it, and it just felt so good. So I was excited about that. And the cool thing is, because it's not like a professional union orchestra, we can totally put the recording online. So I'm sure by the time these videos get online, that will be online and you can check it out. Saili is amazing, and honestly, I feel so incredibly grateful that she's my friend, and that I get to work with this singer of such a top caliber who's willing to engage with music that she wasn't trained to engage with, that was not her training, and she's just so open-minded. She'll try anything. She's just a really fun person to be around, and I feel very, very grateful that she's my friend and that she's my collaborator. So that was really awesome tonight. The other thing that has happened in the last 24 hours that was a real high was I went to speak to the community engagement class at Smith about the work that I do with Street Symphony and Take What You Need. And it was amazing to tell the story of Take What You Need to people who aren't musicians, and begin to kind of paint a picture for them of what it means to be a classical musician, what it means to have that training, and the way that in a way that training often doesn't value our humanity, as much as, for example, a Smith college education would, and that we really are seen as how well can we play orchestral excerpts, how well can we do these very tiny fine motor skill types of things, and a lot of feeling in conservatory isn't put into just what you're thinking and who you are as a person, and so it was amazing to talk to them about Take What You Need and what that meant for the residents of Skid Row, but also what it meant for musicians. And hopefully I'll be able to come back to Smith at some point in the next year, and we can actually do a performance of Take What You Need. But it was amazing. I put the lyrics up on the board, and I just asked if people would sing along, and I could hear that as I kept on singing the response, the students in the class, many of whom weren't musicians, were singing along, and it was really magical. Every time I talk about and perform that piece, it just, something new happens, and there's a new part of the story. So yeah. The other high, it was amazing. I taught a few of Kate Soper's students. So Kate Soper is the composition teacher here, and she's, I mean, an amazing composer. She was, I think, a few years ago, if not last year, was a finalist for the Pulitzer. You know, she's unbelievable and just such a super nice person. Oh, right, yesterday I did the recording in her studio, so of course I talked about her. But so I was just doing studio hours and seeing some of her students, and this amazing young composer came into the studio, and she's like this fully formed, I mean, she's probably 20 years old, and just like her music is like she just gets how to compose in a way that she just understands form, understands the way that to think as a composer. You know, I was asking her about some of her choices, and just, I mean, amazing, beautiful music that's concert ready. You know, it like not even that it needs to be on a student concert. Like, this is music that people should perform. And I had asked her, you know, how much have you composed? She said, well, you know, I've taken a couple composition classes. And I have to say, there was a part of me that just connected something, you know, because when I applied to Juilliard for composition, I was really in the same boat as her. I had maybe taken a couple composition classes, and I was like, I don't know, maybe I like composing. Like, I kind of get how this works, but I didn't really see myself as a composer because, I mean, I hadn't studied for long enough. And somehow I in my mind, I had always thought, like, God, how did I ever get into a conservatory with like no training or no whatever? I mean, what were they thinking? You know, did they make a mistake? Or, you know, and for my whole life, I've kind of carried that around with me. And then when I saw this young woman, I was like, oh, I get it. This person is like ready. I mean, if she were to apply to grad programs in composition tomorrow, I mean, I'm sure she would do really well. And it just occurred to me, like, there are just some people who you can see the talent in, and the way that their mind works at a very young age. And I don't know, it made me feel a little bit more secure about my own situation when I was her age. So yeah, that was amazing. And I mean, obviously, regardless of, you know, how I felt about it, she's just a great composer. And whether she goes into music or not, I mean, she's really great at doing that. The other thing was just a few other like just fun things. I got a text from my assistant Jen today, and it was like, I love Jen because she knows me so well, and she was just like, hey, just want to say, like, you're almost there, you're almost at the end of your trip, you're coming home soon. And it was just this perfect thing, you know. It was a very small thing, it wasn't a high like a big high, but it was just knowing that I have an assistant who completely gets it, and gets that even though I'm here and having a wonderful time and all, I mean, it's exhausting. It's so exhausting. And just that little reminder that, you know, in a couple days I'll be back home was really nice. And yeah, she's just a very sensitive and wonderful person. And then it was also interesting because I was talking to my colleague Vijay, and we had this long discussion while I was walking into Smith College yesterday, just about you know, like, there was a commissioner who had maybe wanted to commission a piece for him that was written by me, and I mean, it's always amazing when you have friends that you get the opportunity to really think big with those friends. And, you know, a lot of times when I'm asked to write an orchestra piece or something, I'm going in to work with an orchestra, and these days I've been able to bring people like Saili and people I love kind of into the equation with me. But it was just so nice to imagine, you know, writing a commission for Vijay where, you know, maybe I could write him a violin concerto, maybe I could write him a double concerto for violin and cello, you know, thinking of all these awesome things that we could do together, and how, you know, there are actually major organizations who would love to support that. That made me really happy. So that was really a high too. Lows, you know, I mean, I hate to say this, but there's like not really been any lows. That's not to say that I've just been, you know, ecstatic all the time, but I've just been either neutral or like super happy about things. You know, I've spent a lot of time just like working, so I've been very focused, and I've been just trying to get the short score for the Albany piece done, and, you know, start to orchestrate and do all of that. And so yeah, like I said, it's not all like super high energy, even like I am when I'm talking to you right now, but it's it has been there have just been neutral points as well. So yeah, something I'm glad I did, I worked so hard today. I worked all day. I mean, literally the only thing I did was teach two of Kate's students and then also go to this orchestra concert. And other than that, literally all day I was sitting in Kate's studio composing, and it was so many hours, and I for the most part was pretty focused and got a lot of the short score done. A lot of the ideas that had just been percolating in my mind, I managed to just really get them out and write, and I felt so good. And I mean, I just feel like I'll sleep well tonight because I know that I'm kind of where I wanted to be. And also I decided tomorrow that I would actually, we were going to rent a car and drive to Albany tomorrow, and we still are, but I think we'll go a little bit later because they don't actually need us in the evening, so we can get there, late at night. So what I thought is we would actually spend the next day pretty much in Northampton as well, and I could write in the morning, and then Saili, can come and we can actually rehearse and go through the piece, because it's really crazy that Saili and I don't see each other in California anymore. I mean, the last time we saw each other was in India, and now we're seeing each other here and in Albany, and then the next time we see each other is also going to be in Albany. So it's like, I feel like we need to take this chance to work, so I'm glad that I decided to kind of push the rental a little bit later so that we could have this day in Northampton where we have a piano and we have a studio, and we're in a comfortable space where we can work. Something that I regret, not many things I regret that I did. I feel like this has not been a few days of a lot of regrets, but I am a little like nostalgic about leaving Northampton. I feel like I've gotten to know these students so well. Just built these really beautiful relationships with the faculty and everyone who's at Smith. I mean, Smith is a really warm, wonderful place, as I know I've said before, and it's just been so nice to get to know everyone. And I'm a little sad that this is the end of my residency, but yeah, I guess that's the one thing. So I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully in Albany, and hopefully with a lot more of the short score of my piece written. Yeah, all right. Have a good night.